Hi, welcome to Tim Sinesi Yoga. I'm Tim, and today we're going to do a total body yoga workout. So we're going to begin today's class with a little seated meditation. For today's class, you're going to need to have maybe a couple blocks if you're not flexible enough to touch the floor in some of the standing poses. I usually have a couple blocks handy. Begin with your legs crossed to the middle of the shins. Rest your hands on your thighs, palms up or down, whatever feels more comfortable. And then close your eyes. So just let your body relax, let your body open. Relax the shoulders back. Feel the chest open. And then from this calm, relaxed place, feel like you're being pulled up from a string on top of your head, but without tensing your shoulders or your chest. Then feel your breath expand from your center. Feel the whole body energized by the breath as you breathe in. And then feel the natural cooling, calming, grounding sensation as you breathe out. When you practice, it can be a good idea to have an intention for your practice. Whether it's to help to heal the body, promote strength or flexibility, or maybe you want to offer up your practice to a loved one, or the fruits of your practice to help bring healing to a situation in your life or in someone else's. Join your palms together. Whatever your intention is now, bring it to the forefront. Then lower your head towards your heart. Drop your hands back down to your thighs. Lift your head and open your eyes. Let's begin in child's pose. So in child's pose, have your big toes together, knees just wide enough for your ribs to fit in between. Stretch your arms forward. Then come up onto your hands and your knees, open up your hands evenly into the mat. Feel the fingers spread, then curl your toes under, lift your knees and start to stretch back into your first down dog. Now I recommend having a little bend in your knees like this so you can elongate your spine. And then see if you can stretch your right leg towards straight without the spine rounding. Change legs, bend the right knee, stretch the left leg towards straight. Stretch both legs towards straight, and instead of trying to force the heels down, lift the heels up a little bit so you can lift the hips up and get length through your lumbar. Then inhale into a plank position. Shoulders right over the heel of your hand, open up through your chest. And as you exhale, glide back into downward dog. 2 more times, warming up the shoulders. Inhale into plank. Exhale into dog. Then inhale into plank. Exhale into dog. Now pull your right knee up into your chest, shift into plank, lift the knee up high. And inhale, one-legged plank. Exhale, pull up. Inhale, reach back. Change legs, stretch back to down dog. Bring your knee up to your chest, shift forward, pull up. Inhale to one-legged plank. Exhale, pull up. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, pull up. Inhale, reach back. Lower down onto your belly. And let's start to wake up the back muscles for up dog. So slide your hands back underneath your elbows. Start to roll your chest forward. Now notice how I'm lifting my shoulder heads away from the floor. So I'm turning on the back muscles. At the same time, press the tops of your feet down. Now lift your kneecaps instead of letting them hang towards the floor. The top of the hamstrings are broad, right where they meet into the buttock. The chest is reaching forward, lower back long, belly up. Then lower your chest down with your spine long, press up onto hands and knees, and stretch back into downward facing dog. Then walk your feet up to the front of your mat. Put a little bend in your knees and let your head drop. And then slowly roll yourself up to stand. Then take your arms out in front of you. We're going to do a little mobility exercise to wake up our twisters in our spine, which will help with our first up dog. So slide your right hand back along your left arm, turn your chest, reach the arm back, and then come back to center. Slide the left arm back, come back to center. Slide your right arm back, come back to center, and slide the left arm back. Then spread your arms out to the side, rotate your arms externally, lift from your belly, lift your chest and reach up, and fold forward. Inhale, make a flat back. Step back into plank pose, one leg at a time. Open your chest as you hold in your plank. Then set your knees down for this first one. Shift forward and lower slowly to elbow height. Stretch your legs back. Inhale into low cobra. And then roll all the way through into your first upward facing dog. Stretch back into down dog. And hold. Breathe through your nose. Look in between your hands. Step walk or hop up to the top of your mat. And inhale, make a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, Samastiti. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step back and lower. This time legs straight if you can bear your upper body weight. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog. Look in between your hands. Step or hop up to the top. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, Samastiti. Surya Namaskar B, inhale into chair. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Step back and lower. And back to downward facing dog. Then step your right foot up by your right thumb. Set up your back heel for warrior one. Hug your hip back into the midline, lengthen, and come up strong to the midline. Long spine, strong core. Bring your hands back down and step back, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your left foot. Set up your back heel. Inhale, come up long and strong through the midline. Step back and lower, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Look in between your hands, step or lightly hop. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all into chair pose, bend your knees, sit back. Press up to stand, Samasthiti. Inhale, chair. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Step or float back, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, Chaturanga. Step your left foot. Exhale, Chaturanga. Digestion is happening. Make your way back to downward facing dog and hold. Then look between your hands. Step or lightly hop up to the front. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chair. Samasthiti. Now separate your feet hip socket distance apart. Fold forward and grab a hold of your big toes. As you inhale, elongate your spine, stretch your chest forward. Exhale, bend your elbows out to the side. Inhale into a flat back, slide your hands underneath your feet, and then fold forward again. Release your hands out from underneath your feet and come up to stand. Then set up my blocks here. Step your right foot back about 4 feet and spread your arms out to the side. Turn your left leg in slightly, turn your right leg all the way out, and then start to bend your right knee towards a 90-degree angle. Now the deeper that knee bends, the more your waist will want to shrink on the right side. So keep the sides of your waist tall as you stretch from your groin to your inner knee. The more this leg stretches, the more this leg bunches up with you. Instead, smooth your back leg through your back ankle as you stretch your right leg. We got all the stretches down now. Then bring your hands onto your hips. Tip from your pelvis and start to lengthen out over your right leg. Place your hand down onto the outside of your foot on the block or on the floor. Now elongate your spine. Reach your right side chest away from your right hip. Then slide your left arm all the way over your ear. Keep smoothing the right inner leg forward and smooth the back leg and hip and buttock into the back ankle. Open up the front of the pelvis and open up the sacrum low back. Press into your feet. Inhale, come back up. Turn your feet to the other side. Right leg angles in slightly. Left leg turns all the way out. And slowly start to bend your left knee. Smooth the inner leg towards the knee. And keep stretching the back leg at the same time. Keep your waist tall. And spread your arms. Then bring your hands onto your hips. Tip your pelvis out over your left leg and place your hand down onto the outside of your foot. Block or floor is your call, but make sure that you keep the action in your legs. This inner leg smooths forward. This leg is still stretching into the back ankle. Lengthen your left side chest away from your hip and then stretch your right arm all the way over your ear. Inhale, come back up. Parallel your feet and then turn the legs to the other side for triangle pose. Tip from your pelvis out over your right leg. Place your hand down. Open up your chest. Now bring your left hand onto your hip, look down at your right foot, bend the knee, slide your back foot a foot closer, slide the block of foot in front of your foot, and raise your back leg up. Elongate through the sides of your waist. Then turn your chest and maybe take your left arm up once you're steady. Then bend your right knee and come into warrior two. Put your right hand down onto the inside of your foot. Take your left arm up. And then wrap your left arm behind your back. Roll your shoulder back, open your chest. Lift your belly, take your arm up, come back up to warrior two. And straighten your leg. Feel the burn in that leg. Ooh. Or turn your legs to the other side. And tip from your pelvis out over your left leg. Utthita Trikonasana. Then bring your hand to your hip, bend your knee, slide your back foot a foot closer, slide the block of foot in front of your pinky toe, and raise your back leg. Then as you elongate through your trunk, turn your ribs, and if you're steady, take your top arm up. If you're not steady, you could just keep your top arm down. Then bend your knee and as smooth as you can, slide back into warrior two. Bring your fingertips down onto the inside of your foot. Take your right arm up. Wrap your arm behind your back. Roll your shoulder back. Reach your heart away from your hips. Then press to your feet, lift your belly, come up into warrior two. And then we'll take the escape route out of this one. Bring your hands to the mat, step back to down dog, or take a vinyasa. Vinyasa means do the chaturanga, up dog, and then the down dog. Then step your right foot all the way up by your right thumb. Lift from your belly, come up into crescent. And then bring your right hand to your hip, start to turn your chest, hook your right elbow to your left knee, and join your palms together. Bring your hands back down to the mat, step back to down dog, or take a vinyasa. Step your left foot, crescent, inhale, come up. Bring your left hand to your hip, turn your chest, ribs, hook your elbow to your knee, and join your palms. Bring your hands to the mat. Step back to down dog or take a vinyasa. Now from down dog, set your left hand down, left knee down, left hand underneath your shoulder. Open up into side plank. Hold there with the knee down, or if you're working upper body strength, stretch the left leg out behind the right. Slowly with control, come back to plank. Set your right knee down, open up to the side. Hold there with the knee down, or stretch your leg out behind your left. Slowly come back to plank. Glide back to downward facing dog. Then step your feet up to the top of your mat and take your feet outer hips distance apart. No, actually, let's take the feet all the way together. Heck, why not? Then lift your heels up. Take your knees apart and stretch your arms forward. Then see if you can internally rotate your arms and bring the hands to the backs of your heels. Then from there, release that one. Hook your triceps back into your shins. Put your hands down and see if you can lean up over your hands and lift your feet up. Plug the shoulder blades onto your back first, then tuck your belly to bring the feet up off the mat. And then set your feet down and fold forward. One more time, lift your heels up, lower your buttocks towards your heels. Then sit onto your buns for boat pose, Navasana. Squeeze the knees together, tuck your belly, open up your big toe mounds. And then lower down onto your lower back. Hold there, crunch your front ribs in towards your hips. And slowly stretch your right leg forward, but keep your abs and your ribs crunched into each other. And then change sides. Change sides. Change sides. And then come back up into boat. Building strength for arm balances, cross your ankles, put your hands next to your hips, and lift your buttock up. And then maybe you could lift your feet up off the mat for a second and hover. Then set your buns back down, come back up into boat. Lower into low boat. Stretch the left leg forward, keep the abs crunched in. Change legs. Change legs. Change legs. Then set your feet down. Open up the arms to the side like cactus arms. Cross your right ankle over your left knee and slowly let the legs fall over to the left. Or you know what, you have plenty of room. You can open up the arms all the way to the side. You don't have to do I'm so used to saying cactus arms in yoga class because there's not enough room, otherwise you're going to poke someone. Don't worry, you're at your house though. If you have dogs though, or children climbing all over you, don't poke them. Come back to center and change the cross of your legs. And let your knees fall over to the right. Come back to center, hug your knees into your chest, then roll yourself back up, a little refreshed after that, and then hop back to chaturanga, or step back to down dog. Let's do the hop. All right, then from down dog, look in between your hands. Step or float up to the front. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, Samastiti. Now step your right foot back about 3.5 feet, maybe 4. And I'm going to recommend, sorry I forgot to tell you to get this, a strap for this next part. Okay, so you're going to take a strap behind your back and then roll your shoulders back and open up your chest. This is going to help to activate your back muscles. So keeping your shoulders rolled out, start to tip forward and fold forward in between your legs. Then set your fingertips down onto the floor, and as you inhale, make a flat back. Make sure that your toes are pointing straight ahead, open up the soles of your feet, and as you exhale, start to walk the hands back and let your head drop. Open up the index finger knuckle into the mat, turn the triceps in, point the elbows back, and lift the shoulder blades out of your neck as you let your head drop. Then inhale into a flat back. Hook your big toes, and as you inhale, reach the chest forward. Exhale, bend the elbows out to the side and let your head drop. So I often get questions from people like, how do I get more flexible? How I can never reach into this pose. What's the secret in my inverse. A lot of it is just spending time in these standing poses. So that's why these 1-hour videos are so helpful, because we get to like hang out in the standing poses. When I'm doing the half-hour videos on YouTube, it's just not enough time to get to spend in all of your poses. So that's why we take this time here. And then as you inhale, make a flat back, elongate. Put a little bend in your knees and come up to stand. Then heel toe your feet in just a bit so they're not so wide. Grab a hold of opposite elbows. Roll your shoulders back. Then turn your right leg all the way out. Pick up your back foot and turn it in a little more than halfway. Inhale, open up your chest. And as you exhale, start to fold forward out over your right leg. Press into your feet and inhale, come back up. Turn around to the other side. Change the clasp of your elbows. Inhale, open up your chest. And exhale, fold forward over your left leg. Inhale, come back up. Then step your back foot forward. Okay, if you're going to use a block for twisted triangle, have it set up near the back of your mat. And we're going to step from the top of the mat. Step your right foot back about 3.5 feet, then turn to face the back wall. Bring your right hand onto your hip, raise your left arm, inhale. Exhale, tip from your pelvis, turn your ribs, and put your hand down. Then glance down and make sure that you're long through the line of your big toe. Reach your tailbone straight back through that line, reach your head straight forward, and then start to turn your ribs in your chest. Once you're steady, take your right arm up. Press into your feet and inhale, come back up and around for the other side. Windmill arms, very fancy. And as you exhale, reach out over your left leg. Inhale to feel the length through the big toe line. And as you exhale, turn your ribs, chest, maybe take your left arm up. Reach down evenly through all 3 points in both of your feet. Press into your feet and come back up. Then step your back leg forward, stand in mountain. Okay, so the next thing we're going to work on is Utthita Hasta. So there's some different levels of flexibility. The first level, I don't know if you can get this on the camera, would be I would just take my leg up. You get to see what's off the screen now. This is the, what's this thing called? TV stand? Credenza or something? I don't know. Okay, you can take your heel up onto the credenza and just stand tall. And that might be a lot of hamstring stretch for you. That's phase one. Phase two, you could work on taking the big toe up and standing tall. And we'll open the leg to the side. So whichever one you're gonna do now, we're gonna start with the leg open to the side. Okay. Then, if you have the big toe and you can start to stretch the leg up towards shoulder height, then you could do that. Then bring your leg to center, stand tall. Open up to your big toe mound, pull up through the spine, pull up through your left thigh, and slowly release. Okay, change sides. So remember, work at your level. Be at the place where you're finding a nice steady stretch. Don't try to jam to where you're like shaking and your nerves are reacting in a bad way. Remember, we're trying to open the body up. We're encouraging it. So leg out to the side, whether it's on your table or you're holding your big toe. Then slowly bring your leg to center and stand tall. And release. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna do Baddha Padmottanasana. So I'm gonna show you again a variation that you can do on the table. If your hip is very tight, you can just lay your leg like this. Work on rotating and standing tall. Okay, now if you're a little more open, then you're going to take the next phase of that, where once you've gotten the hip to rotate, you'll cradle the leg and bring the heel up towards your hip crease. And then you'll let the thigh turn out and the knee stretch down. Once you have that going on, you can reach behind you, wiggle the hand down towards the foot, and once you have your foot, then you could tip from your pelvis and fold forward and put your hand down. Work the phase that you're at, 5 breaths. And then come back up. Now, I should have said this before. You should not feel this stretch in your knee. If you're like, this is a really great knee stretch, that's bad. You should be feeling it in your outer hip. So that means that you went a phase too far. Be patient, let your hip open up. Okay, so let's start either with the leg on the table or cradling the leg. And then bring your heel towards you. And then if possible, you can tip, grab a hold of the foot, fold forward and put your hand down. Then inhale, come back up. Release your foot. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Step back to down dog or take a vinyasa. And then check it out. From here, step your right foot to the outside of your right wrist, left foot to the left wrist, and then lift your hips up, slide your shoulders behind your legs, and then see if you can stretch your hands back like that. And then start to lower your buns down. Okay, so this is phase 1 of what's the one called? Of the arm balance that we're gonna do. Okay, phase 2, lift your hips up, bring your hands to your heels and see if you can wiggle your shoulders a little deeper. And then, if that's all going well, turn the hands around and then see if you can sit back onto your chaturanga arms and cross your ankles. Bhujapidasana. As soon as I did the pose, I remembered it. Bhujapidasana. You can just hang out here as long as you like. Just chill. Lift up from your bandhas. Let's see, Titibasana. No, I can't do that. Okay, straighten your legs and fold forward. You gotta spend longer in the forward folds if I want to get to the next one. Step back to down dog. Then step your right foot up by your right thumb, left knee down. And lift your belly. Raise your left arm. Hook your left elbow to your knee. And join your palms. Then bring your hands back down to the mat. Bend your back knee and see if you can reach back with your hand to grab a hold of your foot or your ankle. You can always put a block underneath your hand if it's too difficult to reach back, or if it's still too gnarly to grab your foot, it's on your knee or your back or something, then don't force it. So you can just keep both hands down and work on the lunge. Release your foot, bring your hips back over top of your left knee, and then wiggle your right foot forward. And for this one, I'm going to use some blocks so I can get some length through my spine. I'm still working on getting all my flexibility back after a gnarly injury. So blocks are where it's at for me right now as I'm trying to build up my hamstring flexibility again. One day I'll get back into Titibhasan, I promise, and then we'll do it together. It'll be a glorious day. Okay, then from here, you could dorsiflex your foot. And then release that. Step back to down dog or take a vinyasa. Step your left foot all the way up by your left thumb and lower your back knee down. Lift from your belly, raise your right arm up. Oh, I love this stretch. This is one of my favorite stretches, just a lunge with an arm up. I'm weird. Turn your ribs, hook your elbow to your knee. And these stretches, these really help us to get ready for Supta Virasana. Foreshadowing. I love these back knee down twist lunges. Then from here, if possible, bend the knee and reach back with your hand for your foot. This side's a little tighter, so I'm starting off on the block so I can get my elongation. And then once I have the elongation, then I'll try, oh my gosh. Breathe into it. And then release that, bring your hips back over top of your knee, wiggle your left foot forward, elongate through your spine. And then dorsiflex your foot. And then release that. Okay, cool. Now let's do the preparations for Shirshasana. So I want you guys to be practicing first before you go up. I'll just share with you a little insight. I lost my headstand, I lost all my inversions for a period of time. And while we're doing this, we could do a little wrist stretch while I'm talking. You can turn your hands around, do a little wrist stretch. We'll kill two birds with one stone. We'll have a lecture while we're getting a wrist stretch. Okay, cool. Okay, so lost the inversions when I had that bad injury skateboarding, and it took me about 4 months of practicing this next pose regularly before I even tried to do a headstand again, because I was off of doing any inversions for like 6-8 months. Okay, so to build the strength again and the confidence in my core and the flexibility, it took me about 4 months of practicing opening up my body in the standing poses before I even attempted to do a headstand first. And then the whole time I was working on this strengthening pose, which I'm going to show next. Are you ready? Okay. Turn your hands around. So this pose, this is like, this is the headstand preparation. So I interlock my fingers, the sides of the thumbs rest together. I place the crown of the head on the floor. So it's the highest point of the head. You can find it by sliding your fingers right along here alongside your ears. And if you slide them up right where they touch, that's the crown. That's the spot that you put on the floor. So I put that on the floor. I press my elbows down, and instead of letting my shoulder blades sink like this, I lift my shoulder blades. Here's where the shoulder blades are, right here on the back. So I lift the shoulder blades, and then I see if I can lift my knees up without the shoulder blades sinking. Then I see if I can lift my hips up over my shoulders without my shoulder blades sinking or my upper back rounding. And then I also press strong in my arms so there's very little weight in my head. If that's all going really well, I bring one knee up, still very little weight in my head, and then I change legs. And then come back down. So that's the sequence that I practiced. At first, it was just having my head down and my knees down. It was hard enough to activate my shoulder blades. Then after like weeks of doing that, I lifted my knees up. Then after weeks of doing that, I worked on walking in closer. And then after weeks of that, I worked on one knee up and then the other. So if you're like, how do I get into my headstand? I want to be able to, then be patient with yourself and work the steps. Okay, the next step, and I recommend being close to a wall, like having a wall maybe like 8 inches in front of you for this next one. I'm just going to show it and then I'll let you try it. But remember, there's got to be very little weight in your neck. Your neck is very delicate. At the top of your spine where your head balances, it's just like the size of a little finger, that vertebra. So you don't want to be putting pressure on that when you're balancing. You've already strengthened in the steps before, so there's very little weight you're holding from your muscles instead of sinking into your neck bones. Okay, so I'll show how this one goes. I'm not going to talk, I'm just going to show it. I find the shoulder blades again. Okay, I'm talking a little. I find the shoulder blades again, and then I lift the legs all the way up. I pull my belly back up, find my Tadasana line. Very little weight in my head, neck. Elbows press, arms strong. To come back down, I slowly bend the knees, and then I bring the knees towards the chest. From here, I could just hold that all day. And then I set my feet down, lower down, and come back into child's. Okay, so that's the way you should practice. You can pause the video now, try to do the headstand, or work on one of your steps. Okay. Now that you're done with that, take a little down dog, let your neck release. And then we're going to prepare the spine for Supta Virasana. So for this one, I like to have a little block or foam roller to lie over. I should have told you all this stuff. And we do a little supported back bend to help to mobilize the thoracic spine. So you can lie down over a block with maybe a blanket over it, or if you have a foam roller, which I highly recommend, then you can take your foam roller for your upper back. I'm pulling like all this crazy stuff out of the woodwork. Here's a strap, here's a credenza. You have to have all these things. You can order this credenza from, I'll put it on the link now, you can use whatever you got. Okay. So, special collaboration I'm doing with West Elm right now. Collaborations in yoga is such a business. And then we're just rolling up and down a couple of times. And then I slide to the top of the bra line. Before I was right at the bottom of the bra line. And just roll up and down a couple times. And then I just move 1 inch up from there. And then come up off of that. Then you just slide your foam roller out of the frame and you could come into Virasana. Okay, so for this first one, I have my knees pointing straight ahead and I'm just gonna walk my hands back a foot behind me. If this is too much on your knees, just do reverse plank instead. And then I lift, roll the shoulders back, open up the chest, and then I'm going to squeeze the backs of the legs and lengthen the buttocks to the backs of the knees. And then I come back down. Okay, now I want to go over the block and do a little supported Supta Virasana. So I'm going to come back into that last stretch and then try to lie down over the block. Now, if this is too much on your knees or your lower back, just stay up in this one instead. Otherwise, see if you could lie down with that block right in your upper back and your hands behind your head. And then come back up. Good, and then have a seat onto your block. Sit up tall and twist to your right. And to your left. Come back to center and fold forward. And then come back up and stretch your right leg straight out in front of you. Then lift up tall over your sit bones and then start to crawl your fingers forward. If this is too much to have your left knee in this Virasana position, you could take the left leg out to the side like a tree pose leg instead. Inhale, come back up, and then change sides. So bring your right leg back into Virasana, take the left leg out in front of you, and then fold forward. Come back up, then sit flat, Upavista Konasana. So all these seated poses that we're working on right now, these are really important poses for hip, ankle, and knee mobility that are gonna help to deepen your standing poses, but then they're also gonna help with all the fancy stuff, like all the fancy inversions, the plow, the shoulder stand. It's also gonna help with the arm balances because the more open your hips and your hamstrings get, the easier it'll be to get into those poses. It won't feel like you're pushing or forcing. So that's good. and then come back up. Okay, now hook your right knee and bring it into Janu Sirsasana position. Heel towards your pubic bone. Turn to face your left leg, and then start to fold forward out over your left leg. Inhale back up. Stretch your right leg out. Bring your left leg and start to fold forward over your right leg. Come back up, then bring your right leg into Ardha Matsyendrasana, cross the ankle on the outside of the left knee, hug your right knee in towards you, and then pull up over your pelvis like you're being lifted up through the top of your head. And as you squeeze this leg in, you'll feel the stretch in your outer hip. And now to deepen the stretch, let's cross the knee right over top of the other knee. To get into this, you might need to put something underneath your buttock and then start to fold forward. I'm holding the tops of my feet and bending the elbows out to the side to help to keep the feet in position so I get into the stretch in the hip. Then roll yourself back up and slide your right hand onto your lower back. Take your left arm up, bend your left elbow and slide the hands towards each other. Then imagine that if you have the fingers, pull apart. If you don't have your fingers bound, imagine you're holding a strap and you're pulling the strap in opposite directions. Or you could also use a strap. And then release that and change the cross of your legs. Ardha Matsyendrasana. Hug your leg in, pull yourself up. Not as tight on this side. The other side, if you watch the movement video, you'll see how weird my other side is. Pull yourself up straight up over your pelvis. If you have a weird side, it might be tighter, might not work as well when you try to do strengthening stuff. And then come back to center. And cross knee over knee. Remember, you can sit up on something if this is difficult. And start to fold forward. Then come back up, take your left hand behind your back, take your right arm up, bend your right elbow, slide the hands towards each other, bind, or imagine you're binding and pull in opposite directions. Pull up through the core of your spine, straight up over your pelvis. If whatever the spine's doing is affecting the stretch in the arms, so if you're just hanging in your spine, round it over, then you're not getting as deep into the shoulder stretch. And then release that. For our final hip opener, cross your legs and fold forward. Or if your hips are a little more open, you could stack the shins and do double pigeon. Oh my gosh. And come back up and change the cross of your legs. And start to fold forward. Come back up. We're gonna work on plow. Okay, stretch your legs out. We're excited about that. And start to fold forward. Now, sometimes I'll get comments from people that say like, oh, I feel good throughout the whole class, and then I do that forward fold at the end, and then my back doesn't feel good. That's usually a sign that the forward fold doesn't make your back feel good. You didn't think of that. So it might be that it's just too much flexion on your spine. But if you can fold forward and get into a pretty deep forward fold with relative ease in your back body, then you're ready to do plow pose and shoulder stand basics. If you can't do a pretty deep forward fold and not have your back hurt or have it feel like your head's gonna explode, then your body isn't ready. You just have to keep practicing the standing poses, practicing the seated poses more regularly and for a little bit longer time. Like do this 1 hour video. Okay, so let's see. Okay, that's pretty decent. It's not the greatest, but I feel like I could do a plow. So now I'm gonna take my hands on my side. I keep the space, the curve of my neck, as I take my legs up and over. Now my forward fold isn't that good, so my plow isn't that good. But I'm working on it, just relax, okay? If I wanted to make it look better, I could put my feet up on a chair or against the wall. And that would just take me out of the pose a little bit so I could get a better looking pose. Okay, then from here, if you press the shoulder heads down and bring your hands to your hips, you come into half shoulder stand. But make sure that your 7th vertebra of your cervical spine isn't grinding into the floor. To come back down, the feet go down, and you roll out. We don't go into full shoulder stand anymore unless we have blankets. We just do that little half one. The 7th cervical is right here, where I'm pointing down at the base of the cervical spine. That shouldn't push into the floor. Now let's do the fish pose. Don't worry, that was just my hip. Press down through the elbows. And then release. We'll finish with a little supine twist. Open your arms out to the side, cross knee over knee, and let your hips go over to the right a little, legs over to the left. Come back to center. Cross left knee over right knee, hips over to the left a little, let your legs fall over to the right. So you should feel at the end of the practice, we've had this arc in the practice where it started off intense, we reached a peak, and then we started cooling down. You should feel like I'm really ready to just go inward now. Uncross your legs, release your arms at your side, let your feet fall open. And just start to feel the rhythm of your breath. Watch the body being breathed. Then gently bend your knees and roll over to your right side. Press yourself up to seated. Thank you. Namaste. All right, so thank you for practicing this extended class with me today. And I just also want to take an opportunity to thank you for being a member of the Conscious Movement community. Not only do I feel that this is really the way that you'll be able to deepen your practice, because personally for me, spending more time in the practice, slowing down, going into the poses, that's really how I learn to move deeper into my practice and learn from my body. And yeah, so there's that. But then also you're doing a great thing. You're helping support the channel so that I can keep making videos for you. So really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. I hope that you're getting something from it. And I'd like to hear from you about what you'd like to see in the future. If you want to see some pranayama, some meditation, what other things we can introduce to the Conscious Movement community. Post in the Facebook group, send me direct messages on Instagram. My Instagram is @TimSinesiYoga. And yeah, let's keep the conversation going. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.